I'm tired of burying guys, killing themselves because of failed relationships, divorces, lost children, what have you. You literally can avoid all of that if you never get married and don't have kids. There's nothing they can do. They can't touch you. The minute you sign that piece of paper called a marriage license, you're opting to give up half of your shit based on 3 magic words. I'm not happy. Lose your children, which is exceptionally painful, and or half of your income or more if you get tagged. To have to pay Alice isn't horny anymore money, which we call alimony. But it's killing dudes out there wholesale. It really is. I mean, the system made me homeless.
Yeah, same.
Same with him.
Same.
So we'll start off with my story. I'll tell you the deal. All right. So I met my ex-wife when I was roughly 29-ish, and she was 26, 27-ish. Could be off by a little bit, but it is what it is. There's a whole bunch of red flags that I literally was ill-equipped to, spot and, wave myself off from the craziness. And, she was, and they're all there. All right. She was a redhead, big tits. She was in a sorority. She was a nurse. I heard about some of the craziness that she was involved in, like a blue pill simp. I was like, well, everyone's got a past. It's not a big deal. Okay. Don't do that. I shook the whore tree and expected a wife to fall out. Do not do that for your military.
How dare you?
All right, so marry her. Everything's good to go. We have our first kid, like 2 years ish into the mirage. The second, was born. I came home on leave from Iraq for the second child, and went back. When about a month later, I got blown up, and then by October, I was medevaced. Now, I got the Langstuhl, Germany, had a minor stroke, a TBI, a bunch of pinpoint hemorrhaging in my thinking meat, and I was having all kinds of problems. All right. I went from being like the top tier alpha guy to a broken, like just piece of shit, I guess, in her eyes. And it's very common. Men who get hurt, lose their jobs, or go through any kind of turmoil, if they're married, more than likely they're going to get divorced because the women of the West have absolutely no fucking loyalty. We'll just put it there. All right. So I thought everything was hunky dory, roughly 2004, 2005, 2006 is when I started to actually have the mental fog start to clear. It was really bad in the beginning. And then one day towards the end of 06, I woke up one morning and everything was back. I literally had my perception. There wasn't any more brain fog. But then I had that gut feeling that something, just wasn't right. And, I'm an evil genius. And I started some espionage. I found out some stuff. And I remember I went to drill in Chicago with 20th Group. I was having these, let's just say my ESP pangs of some craziness. And, there was some weird stuff that my now ex-wife is doing. And I went and talked to the team daddy, and I'm like, hey, man, I think my wife is stepping out on me. This is so common in the military. He didn't even like, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh, my God. He's like, all right, come with me. I literally follow him to the supply shop. I signed for I think it was between $400,000 and $600,000 of cutting edge surveillance gear, to include a fob that you can put on the vehicle and DOD satellite time to track her in real time from space.
Wow.
I went, they gave me all the stuff. I started using it. And about a month later ish, maybe 3 weeks, I had all the goods. I had a few intercepted cell phone calls. I had one of those fancy gadgets with the laser and the ear thing, and you point it at a window and you can hear all the shit that's going on. I had a couple recordings of that. And of course, I had the satellite imagery of the car that it was in my name. She was driving our Astro minivan. I know it's gay, but it is what it is. And here's the funny thing: I could only really use the satellite imagery in court because I had to produce a receipt. I went out and bought a little GPS thing, land, sea, and sky. That's the only thing I could use as evidence. I couldn't use the other stuff because I'd have to explain where it came from, and people would get very upset. So we didn't do that. So the day of the confrontation, I show her all the shit. She goes, pleads the fifth, and 3 days later, I literally had my attorney file for divorce because I had an attorney on retainer during that surveillance time, just in case I was proved right, which I was. So there was no hesitation. And the lucky thing for me is because I did that, my divorce paperwork was filed before hers by 15 minutes.
Very good.
And you can see the difference. Mine was very amicable, pay my portion of the bills, live in the house, take steps to, amicably separate. Okay. Hers was seize all of his accounts, kick him out of the house. A PPO was in there, personal protection order motion. It was literally, they were going for the goddamn jugular. And I was reading some of that paperwork, and they were referring to me as a murderer and an assassin. I was unstable. I had PTSD. They literally, her attorney pulled out all of the tricks to stumble fuck me.
Yeah.
Right now, they went with mine. So it was about 3 weeks later. I had to go to Fort Indiantown Gap to run some machine gun ranges and grenade launcher ranges for the CA, a couple CA companies that were going to deploy forward. And I was gone for about 3 weeks. I walk in the door. My kids are like, Daddy. My dog is gone. 6.5 year, 145-pound chocolate lab gone. And I literally, I look at my ex-wife, and I'm like, where is Ranger? That's what I named him.
Yeah.
And she looked at me in the face, deadpan, and said the following: I told you I didn't want you living here. So she purposely killed my fucking dog so I would snap and wring her goddamn neck, and she would get the auto win. I didn't fall for that. I did a 180. I walked out the door. I was gone for about 4 or 5 days to cool down. I brought up the fact that she murdered my dog to the judge. Nobody gave a shit. It was considered property. But I know if I did the same thing to her and she had a shaken piss dog and I fed it to a snake or something, I'd be in jail. And I know the dog was killed because he got 3 different stories. And we've watched enough detective flicks to know when the story changes, the outcome is never a good thing. All right, so that was unbelievably callous and heartless, merciless, in my opinion. But the thing that amazed me is I was married to this woman, and literally she flipped her switch and was capable of killing my dog. And the system is rigged for women, which I at the time I didn't really believe until I saw it for myself. I went through the whole process, and by the end, I literally was in the same place I would have been if she would have filed her paperwork. I was still fucking homeless because they picked a number out of their fucking head based on an income I made 3 years prior that I was going to pay child support on. was like $1,250 fucking bucks a month. I just started a new job at Edward Jones as a financial planner. I was there for about 11 months. I couldn't afford to stay. I had to go back in the service so I could pay the child support and still be able to eat and live. All right. Now, towards, during the divorce, she sent an email, and we'll have Steve here read it in a moment. But virtually everything in that email that she sent me has come true today. I've lost my kids. I've literally lost everything. I have no family other than my mother, who's very old and more than likely going to pass away soon. All right. My ex-wife, even to this day, has ruined that portion of my fucking life. And there's nothing I could do about it. I just have to take the L. All right. I did a whole show on how to take the L. I'm following my own advice. It is what it is. All right, Steve, can you read that letter so everyone can know don't show it on the screen though. Just read it.
All right. Don't need to show it on the screen.
Yeah.
It's not showing on the screen. From the woman. Well, as basic as I can put it, I am going to fight you at every turn. I will use whatever tricks necessary to get custody of my children. I cannot believe you brought up my car accident with the Mustang. I also can't believe you brought up the whole swinging thing. How dare you bring up my personal life? As I told you in February, it is no business of concern of yours what I do. As far as any relationship you're wishing to have with your children, consider it gone. You will have to drag me into court 3 to 4 times every time I deny you parenting time. You should have just laid down and given me what I wanted. Now, after this is all done, so are you. Your mother, your sister, and your whole side of the family is done also. There's nothing you can do about it. All the balls are in my court, in fact. As a woman, I own the whole game. Consider this as a warning. Give me what I want, and I won't have to destroy you. I won't have to destroy your reputation and you so-called career.
Yep.
Good Lord.
There it is. There it is.
I stumbled reading some of that because at one point I got the whole with the kids thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the same way with my daughter, and I got angry right there. That was me stumbling while I was done.
Yeah, you're doing the emotional juggle.
Right.
Got it.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. So, gentlemen, the reason I'm doing this and telling you all of this shit is because during the 33 years I served, I fucking buried so many dudes that should not have been buried. A lot of them were from suicide or deaths that were very suspicious, but there was no note, so it wasn't labeled as suicide. On top of that, you had the illnesses, the injuries, the KIAs, stuff like that. Retired guys. And some of those guys were suicides as well. And after my divorce was final and I started doing the research, I realized, now this is anecdotal because the sample size isn't big enough. But from my research, 70% of the veteran suicides, all of that 70% had contact with divorce court or family court within 7 years prior to their death. All right. There's a reason the male suicide rate is off the fucking hook. And there's a reason why so many men are homeless. And the number one reason is the communist bullshit that you get in family court. They don't even follow the fucking Constitution, and they have it in decades.
Somebody just said premenstrual witchcraft. Wow, that's a pretty accurate
I
description.
got to write that down.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Popp for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.